Is a what? What?
For years, Ellen DeGeneres carried a reputation built entirely on warmth and trust. She reigned as the face of daytime television, synonymous with laughter, giveaways, and that whole be kind ethos that helped her into a media powerhouse. But as scrutiny tightens around Hollywood's inner circles, a very different narrative is starting to surface. One suggesting that behind the on-screen charm was something far less comfortable. Deep access to powerful people, layers of secrecy, and uncomfortable proximity to some of the industry's darker corners.
Meeting Ellen, and is she a good person?
Let's just all go back to 2017, where I was the first person to call Ellen out before anyone else.
You called her out?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I called her out. I was like, Ellen's not that nice.
This was after you went on the show?
After I went on the show, and the world blew up about it and was like so mad at me about it, and then someone else said it, and then it was like, oh my god, Ellen's not nice. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Why do you say she's not nice?
I can't explain it. It was just really
energy?
I ran into her like backstage. It was like an awkward thing, and like the producers were really scared. I was like, what's going on? They were like, that was not supposed to happen. We're gonna get in trouble. It's like so.
Recently, Dave Chappelle has entered the discussion, not through sensational accusations, but by examining behavioral patterns, resurfaced footage, and a timeline that allegedly places Ellen DeGeneres much closer to Sean Diddy Combs' circle than a casual observer. If the connections Chappelle is reportedly highlighting are accurate, then the issue could extend beyond the downfall of a talk show host and raise questions about possible criminal responsibility. For years, people have quietly speculated about Hollywood's private parties and the exclusive circles that exist away from public scrutiny. But following Diddy's arrest and the federal raids that came afterward, the attention is no longer limited to the controversial mogul himself. The focus is expanding toward people who had access to or shared proximity with his private world. Dave Chappelle, instead of centering his attention on the courtroom proceedings, has reportedly been emphasizing one thing: repeated access. And one person continues to stand out in that discussion: Ellen DeGeneres. Looking back at their history, the relationship between Ellen and Diddy doesn't appear to be based solely on distant industry familiarity. Their public interactions happened repeatedly. The audience saw the jokes, the red carpet moments, and the friendly exchanges. But Chappelle is said to be looking deeper at the details: the private invitations, conversations surrounding arrival times, and references to after-parties that continued once the cameras were gone and the doors were closed.
About your birthday party, am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up to
No,
any
well,
of them.
is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that?
Once you put that alongside what has been reported about Diddy's private settings, restricted locations, invitation-only gatherings, and allegations involving concealed cameras, the focus of the conversation begins to shift. The issue stops being simply about who spent time around Diddy and becomes a much more serious question: who else may have had access to those same private environments? To understand the seriousness of the allegations surrounding Ellen, we first have to examine the earliest pattern Chappelle has reportedly brought attention to. One of the most heartbreaking connections involves Aaron Carter. Aaron entered the entertainment business as a young star with enormous hopes, but the experiences he described later in life reflected a level of trauma no child should ever be expected to endure. Footage resurfaced by Chappelle is presented as evidence of a system in which young performers like Aaron were introduced to powerful circles through promises of career opportunities and mentorship, but instead of finding protection and guidance, they allegedly encountered settings where normal boundaries seemed to disappear. And when you look back at the course of Aaron Carter's life, the consequences are difficult to ignore. He went from being a platinum-selling teenage sensation to spending his final years publicly asking for help, while also warning that if anything happened to him, it would not be random.
On Twitter, and I see people saying, you look like you have AIDS, you should go die. I don't understand how I dedicated 22 years of my life to my fans, and now they turn on me.
Do you regret ever getting involved in...
I didn't have a choice. It got bad when I was about 15 years old.
Although authorities officially classified his 2022 death as an accidental drowning, Dave Chappelle allegedly argues that the broader timeline surrounding Aaron's life tells a more troubling story. According to this interpretation, Aaron's access to powerful and potentially predatory environments, combined with the fears he expressed before his death, should not simply be dismissed as unrelated events. Chappelle reportedly presents it as part of a broader pattern of alleged silencing within Hollywood. That same alleged pattern is then connected to Ellen's former girlfriend, Anne Hesh, and producer Stephen "Twitch" Boss, two individuals that sources claim were interested in exposing Ellen. Now, disturbing photos that had not previously received widespread attention are being revisited, showing the bathroom where singer Aaron Carter was found dead the previous year. Carter's mother, Jane Schneck, shared the images on her personal Facebook page on Wednesday, alongside a statement saying, quote, "Still trying to get a real investigation for the death of my son, Aaron Carter."
Anne Heche remains in a coma after that fiery car crash. Her condition is far worse than originally believed.
Oh my gosh.
According to her spokesperson, she's in critical condition and on a ventilator.
On Wednesday, news broke that Stephen "Twitch" Boss died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And now, ET has learned that the former Ellen Show DJ left a note behind indicating that he couldn't go.
Justin Bieber also enters the story. For years, footage has circulated showing a young Bieber spending what was described as 48 hours with Diddy. In one clip, Diddy jokingly talks about having custody of the teenage superstar at the time and says they are about to go completely wild. Back then, the moment was largely treated as nothing more than a joke. But following the lawsuits involving Diddy, viewers have started looking at that same footage through a very different lens. And once again, Ellen appears right in the middle of the conversation surrounding that relationship.
He knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television. He's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives.
We've also watched Ellen interact with Bieber on numerous occasions, sometimes in moments that have drawn attention because of how strongly she seemed focused on him. She often leaned into the image of the older, flirtatious cougar aunt. But when those exchanges are reconsidered in light of the allegations surrounding Diddy, the jokes about having Bieber come over to her home, the gifts and repeated remarks about how young he was, can take on a very different appearance. Critics could interpret those moments as examples of behavior being normalized through humor. From this perspective, Ellen wasn't simply standing on the sidelines while a culture that allegedly exploited young artists operated around her. She was publicly engaging with Bieber herself, while comedy provided the framing that made those interactions easier to dismiss.
Job, then what happens is that they have to kiss me sometimes. We've discussed this many times. Right. But when I don't have a job, nobody, did you see? No! Oh my God, no!
Chappelle's focus reportedly wasn't limited to younger entertainers either. He has also begun connecting the discussion to major figures who were already firmly established in Hollywood, including Will Smith. For years, Smith and Diddy occupied many of the same social circles, crossing paths through vacations, invitation-only gatherings, and high-profile industry parties, where much of what happened remained away from public view. And that shared proximity is now becoming another part of the broader conversation.
In trouble in my day. Well, I've been in a lot of trouble in my day, but man, let me tell you something. This guy, Puffy, buddy, this guy is in an enormous amount of trouble. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. They got this guy in a RICO case by himself.
People such as Jaguar Wright have repeatedly made allegations claiming that Will Smith was present during the alleged exploitation of young artists, including Bryce Gray, with Justin Bieber and Jaden Smith reportedly among those present. Ellen becomes part of the broader discussion because of her repeated public and social proximity to Diddy and the circles surrounding him. The argument being made is that she was not simply an outsider observing from a distance, but someone who allegedly had enough access to understand how those environments operated. And as this story has unfolded, allegations of silence, concealed trauma, and attempts to prevent people from speaking publicly have continued to surface. One claim goes even further, suggesting that someone was allegedly being pressured or embarrassed into backing away from a lawsuit connected to what Will and Diddy supposedly did to him, with Jaden and Justin allegedly present. The claim also alleges that a recording exists. This is where the discussion turns toward possible health consequences. Allie Carter, who has described herself as a survivor and spoken publicly about allegedly being treated as a party favor at Diddy's events, discussed the lasting physical impact she says these experiences had on her. She also alluded to contracting illnesses within those circles. Jaguar Wright has separately made allegations involving Diddy's health, claiming he had dealt with certain conditions for years while allegedly continuing to host what have been described as unprotected freak-offs. Taken together, these allegations present a disturbing picture of reckless behavior, where those with power were allegedly protected while more vulnerable people were left carrying the consequences.
Party? I was one of the party favors. But I told you, nobody tells on Diddy. Maria Z, I did that interview in 2021, 7 months ago. We made sure, I already knew, that Diddy and Oprah is about to get arrested. I already knew that 7-8 months ago.
Ellen's place in this narrative is being tied primarily to the overlapping circles she allegedly shared with Diddy, including years of appearing around the same private and closely controlled environments. If the rumors about alleged freak-off recordings being held by the FBI are accurate, and if recognizable names actually appear on those recordings, then the implications could extend well beyond public reputation and into serious legal territory. And that leads directly to the biggest question hanging over the entire story: the alleged tapes. According to claims attributed to sources familiar with the investigation, along with rumors circulating within comedy circles, there is reportedly concern that a particular recording involving Ellen DeGeneres could eventually become public. If Chappelle is supposedly hinting at something like this during his performances, some viewers may wonder whether he has personally seen evidence or heard information from someone who has. For years, Ellen's public image was built around daytime television, the message to be kind, and her upbeat dancing persona. But what if, critics now ask, that public identity concealed someone who allegedly helped enable, or at minimum ignored, serious misconduct happening around her? Online discussions have grown louder, and those conversations are raising an uncomfortable question. How many young people entered these exclusive circles believing they were being offered a path towards success, only to come out of those experiences permanently changed? And if any alleged recordings ever become public, would Ellen DeGeneres be forced to confront them? Or would she simply fade from public life alongside other celebrities whose reputations collapsed? At this point, the story remains unresolved, but one thing is clear: the comedy and celebrity image surrounding these allegations is being questioned more intensely than ever. Now, we want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Then check out the next video, because the story only gets more complicated from here.